Is this,
Yes.
is this granular per classroom too?
Say it again?
Do you have this down to each classroom?
Yep.
So the teacher's seeing what the shift is
Yep.
within their
The
class.
teachers, and actually, that's another good question in that. When we meet with teachers during the screening, because we just met with them all, they look at their individual data, so they get to see what their class looks like.
As well as the other people in their grades.
Yep, and there are some uncomfortable discussions, and there are some really great discussions, but those are important things to happen. Those discussions are huge.
So now, as the data coaches, they're diving into this?
You're,
I mean, that's where they're getting, this is the data, besides Ames Web providing it, the data coaches are looking at it.
and I will say the literacy coaches and the math coaches, they are the people that really look at this stuff, with me. They come in and we sit down, we spend a day looking at every kid and every teacher, so. And then we meet with each, then we go to the schools, and Nate and Todd make it happen, that we sit and they filter the teachers in, so we get to look at everything together.
So I'm assuming that within grade levels, if there's 5 classrooms in each grade level, and I'm down and the other 4 are up, I'm assuming there's some collaboration of me saying, I don't know what I'm doing, help me out, or other teachers saying, I don't know what you're doing, but we need to help you out.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what this is all about.
And overall, that's
It's well received.
okay.
I mean, it's,
Good. I mean, that's-
it's hard to argue with the numbers. I mean, there are some numbers that are off, and we know that, but honestly, it's hard to say, gosh, you know, it's, the discussion is, well, what's going on? And we've had those and they've been great discussions. Teachers are real supportive.
And with more of a standard curriculum, I would assume it's easier to have those discussions versus, well, don't do what you're doing.
Right. Or what are you doing? Why are your kids so successful? We had those discussions. And we actually had classroom teachers that said, you know what, my kids are doing extremely well. I don't have any kids in the red. So I don't need an interventionist. Let's put the interventionist
Put it where they need
it. So it shifts everything.
Yep, the maze.
Yeah, but if you look at that in 4th grade.
So give you like
So the
2
fact
more
that we know
minutes,
that
and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna close up, so I can.
ask you by grade 4 and 5 is to know the difference between down, make, and alike.
Well, you're not asking for the difference between the words, you're asking what makes the sense in the sentence.
Well, yeah, but in order for them to be able to answer that, they need to be able to tell you, to understand the difference of those 3 definitions.
How important is it for?
That's what I'm saying. If that's the level, if that's our expectation, and once you're in a room, are we really providing them with anything to go beyond knowing the difference between down, make, and alike?
You know, kind of like at the end of the day, kind of flattens out. Still making progress.
We'll get those gold stars back out for you. But I think that is a question.
Okay, give you about 30 seconds to sort of tie up your conversation, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna conclude.
Yeah, grade 5.
The fact that we're here in would be exceptional to show kids on how to.
Well, and you could sell it to Ames to make some money for Christmas.
Right, and I mean, and you could even just put it in here, having a dotted green. It's still green, but make it a dotted green of the portion that are in enrichment and watch them.
Basically, you have
It could still be green.
Like I said, okay, so anybody have anything they wanna just throw out for the good of the group, and then we're gonna move on?
Liz does.
Liz does, okay, Liz.
Yes, I think that seeing the progression is amazing and wonderful. So the next question becomes, if we're looking at the green tier, do we have, and concern's a strong word, but do we have any reflection on to make sure that that 20, like in grade 5 at Kennedy, the 29.4 are continuing to move up? They're already in that green. So how do we take that next level to make sure that they're not just becoming stagnant or slipping?
That's a really good point, and that won't show up on this report, but it does show up on the reports that we look at with the classroom teachers, because it grades kids all the way from your highest learner to your lowest learner. So then you end up with more colors. You end up with a blue group, you end up with a white group, a green group. So you absolutely, remember I talked about when we go to chutes and ladders, they're going to be able to identify if the kids are not moving. And that's a very strong discussion as well.
So is that something that we will be able to see at some point, so we can say that, yes, we're impacting this area, which is really important, but we're also impacting this area, which is good.
That's what I was gonna say, is I would like to see that. You can pick a grade, you can, building in 5th grade, here's all the teachers, to see each one of those, well, I shouldn't say each one, the top one's moving as well versus just the middle.
Yep. And there's so many other pieces that go into this relative to looking at fluency versus comprehension and grade level, but I'm not going to go into that right now, because there is a certain point in time where reading faster is not better. Comprehending trumps that, but there is a point where fluency is really critical. So.
Comprehension is noticeable in 5th grade, especially in these
absolutely
results.
Absolutely, and that's, you know what, if you talk to any middle school teacher, because these kids are going to middle school, they'll tell you, hey, if they can comprehend, I don't care if they read at the speed of lightning, and that just doesn't make that much difference to me. As a reader, I'm a slow reader. It takes me a long time. I looked at that report over the weekend, and I've looked at it again 2 or 3 times today, and I'll probably still look at it, and I'll catch things that I didn't catch before. So that's what we want kids to become. We want them to become critical readers, because that's really what reading is all about.
It just seems like grade 3 is kind of flat, too.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I didn't tell you to say that, right, Mike?
No, you did not.
Because I'm going to explain that. That's the one thing, remember when I said, we sat down and we looked at this, and we said, holy cow, what's going on in 3rd grade? Where are we missing? Where are we missing? And here's what we found out. We found out that as we looked at this data, the fluency or the speed they're reading at isn't quick, didn't get really fast. But the reason it didn't is because that's not the intervention we provided. Those kids didn't know their phonics. They had no phonics skills. So until we provided phonics instruction, we couldn't even begin to look at fluency. So if you were to look at what's called the nonsense word fluency, which is the phonics measure we use to progress monitor, if you looked at that, you'd say, wow, look at these kids, they just skyrocketed. We were able to kind of stop or cease that intervention of phonics, and now we're really working on fluency. So those fluency measures in 3rd grade should change quite a bit. So that's good that you spotted that. It's really
Cheryl,
huge.
just a question. How important is progress monitoring to both the SIG school and the
Critical.
public school?
It's absolutely critical to any school, whether you're a SIG school, a priority school, a title, I don't care what you are. Any school, any grade level, progress monitoring is critical. Because if you wait, that's why we progress monitor these kids every week. And in a few weeks, I'll sit down with those coaches, and Carrie will be part of that discussion, and we'll say, let's look at these kids. Which kids are moving? Which kids are not moving? How do we change the intervention to make it work? It's not working. We got to change it. We don't have time to wait. We need to change it now. And so if you don't progress monitor, then you're just hoping. Carrie and I talk about the Christmas tree approach. Pull it off the tree, throw it somewhere, and hope it sticks. That's what a lot of programs do. We can't afford to do that. We need to be focused with that laser-like focus. And if we don't progress monitor, we're not going to know what's working and what's not working. It's really important.
And I would hope we will continue to progress monitor regardless of where we're at.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And it's not just schools that are struggling schools. It's schools that are celebration and reward schools will tell you that they would never let go of progress monitoring, because it's almost impossible to know if what you're doing is working if you don't. And one of the other things I'll just address quickly, and then I'll move on, is you'll notice the green. Remember I said initially you want 75%. And remember, this is reading. But because reading core has been such an issue in this district for the last several years, teachers have not had a good reading core curriculum. They have done the best they can with what they've had, but that's what we're working on this year. That's why you have sub-issues. That's why all these other issues come up. We're trying to help tighten up the reading part of the curriculum so that we'll see a healthier reading core. There are some teachers that are having to implement a reading core intervention and more next year because their reading core isn't at that 75%. If it wasn't at 75%, we know what they're doing wasn't working well enough for the good of the greatest amount of kids.
And will we have grammar included in the reading part, or is that just reading?
It's part of the ELA standards, it's front and center. Same thing with foundational skills, phonics is front and center. Every grade level I've met with has a phonics essential outcome that they've written because it's in the ELA standards, so yes.
And will that grammar continue into middle school?
Absolutely, I can't see why not.
Okay.
Cheryl, one of the things we saw in there was the younger, the bigger leap.
Yeah.
But then you see it again happen in grade 4. I'm just wondering, are you guys finding that that's developmentally appropriate, that there's that, we always hear, you want to catch this, put all this in place by 3rd grade, because after
Right.
3rd grade you start seeing this. Is that just, all of a sudden the switch goes off in 4th grade, that's the next developmental step, that's why we see that big step again, or?
I would look to your teachers, your classroom teachers, because they have really stepped up and added some really incredible interventions to their core classroom. They're doing a lot with reciprocal teaching. They're doing a lot of different things in their classrooms. And I would look to the teachers to say, I think their efforts are really showing up on these triangles. I really do. And just that's why we have to be cautious about 3rd grade, because their efforts, if you would look at the phonics results, you would say, holy cow, it's crazy.
I'm hearing a lot of blessings from being labeled a priority and focus school, which is a great thing.
You're right.
It's nice that it brought us around to where we need to go.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
And kudos to the teachers. I know there's a celebration at Kennedy a month ago or whatever it was for their success
Yeah.
on the same.
I think it just district-wise, and I just can't tell you how wonderful it is to have that. When I first came here, I didn't have that little cadre of folks that I could look to and I could talk to, but I cannot tell you how much I appreciate people like Carrie and Patty and Tom and Karen. It's just been remarkable to be able to have the time to work on. These are huge changes. Honestly, I can tell you, I do not know of a district this size that has such a tight response to intervention program right now. I can't think of one. And it's been because of the dedication of your administrators and all of the people to make the schedule work. It's just, yeah. So kudos to all of those folks.
I happened to have the opportunity today to talk to a CIS, someone who does my position at another SIG school in the state of Minnesota, and I was talking to her about her results in their district, and theirs, they said, are pretty much flat. They didn't see the results that we saw, and so that was exciting for me because this is my first experience going through this as well. And I didn't know, is this just what always happens when a district goes this way? Obviously not. Their district adopted it in the fall and started RTI just like ours, and they're not seeing the results that we are. So I just wanted to share that.
Those interventions, they're just so powerful.
Can I say something to you? I think the other thing that's amazing about these test results are that these classrooms are not balanced. And what I mean is that parents have been able to select their classroom teacher. So some of these teachers that have had 20 kids in the red and seeing what they're doing, like we talked about 4th and 5th grade, I mean, those are great teachers that we have in our building, and 1st grade. And we have great teachers in all the grade levels, but when you started out with 20 kids in the red and you've moved 10 of them or 15 of them to the green, that's exciting. That's good teaching going on. We can teach the high learners, but when you're moving kids like that, like we are, as things change, a little bit, I think we have great teachers, and I would be excited about any of the kids going into any of those grade levels next year, 4th grade, 5th, whatever grade they're going. But there are some teachers that have done a great job, and so when you look at that triangle, some of those teachers that have had 20 kids start in the red and move those kids to the green or move them to the yellow with partial, progress, that's exciting.
I'd like to just sometime in the minutes include some of those examples, both from Kennedy and Roosevelt,
just for our own personal information.
If I might, I also would like to thank Cheryl for the leadership she's shown in the district. She's done a wonderful job, and she drugged me kicking and screaming a couple of times. But it's worked out, and it's working out. So we have made significant changes and adjustments within this district inside 6 months.
And let's keep going.
Right, because that is part of the requirements as a transformational school, and that's what we opted to do. And so it's expected that we are transforming things and changing things constantly.
Well, regardless
But I
of the
agree
school
with the
label,
leadership,
we need to keep going.
Jerry, I'd like to say one other thing too. Have you had time to tell Cheryl this or Todd? I was at Principals Conference in the cities on Thursday and Friday, and I sat in an RTI session that was done by the Glen Cove Silver Lake School. And they basically told their story of implementing the RTI in their district. And they had a rubric that they shared with us. I'm going to share it with Cheryl and Todd, of course, this next week. But it showed what they accomplished in year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And they told their story. Like Jerry just said, we're 6 months in. We pretty much lined up with their year 3 already into 6 months. When you look at their rubrics of what they've, what took them 5 years to get to, we were pretty much already in year 3.
Great.
So, again, kudos to Cheryl with her leadership and all the other people, because to take this beast on and buildings of 950 kids has been, I think it's been phenomenal.
Last Tuesday, I was down at MDE presenting this same data to the 6 schools, and Steve Div and I can't think of her name, Carrie, Betsy
Betsy.
But we were sharing, and I was sharing our data, and they were just like, here's the, what was it? What's the name of the other school that you were talking to today?
Onemia.
Onemia, yeah. And just to see our results and posting it up against the other 6 schools, first year 6 schools, and just to see our progress, it was just exciting, and they could see, you know, just the energy that, how much that everyone in our district has put in, from the school board to Jerry's leadership to just all the way down both schools, you know, just saying that we're in this together to get out of the priority status. And I was just sharing our data to MDE, and it was exciting for me to stand up and just say, this is where we're moving, and getting some other ideas to come back, you know, to how do we, like Nate's saying, look at year 1, year 2, year 3. There's a SIG principal in year 4 that came and showing that they got out, she has gotten her St. Paul's school out of priority status, and she keeps moving along. So it was nice to talk with her and get some ideas and some things that's happening, you know, statewide to some schools that.
Very good. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Last slide is just the amount of interventions that we started with in the fall. In Kennedy, we started with providing 406. These are students that are struggling learners. We had 416 kids getting interventions. Based on data, we exited enough kids, so now we just have 336. At Roosevelt, we started by providing 430 kids interventions, and now we're providing 393. I want you to be careful about Roosevelt. It's a little skewed in that we are providing some math interventions, so it looks a little different, but I think that speaks to the hard work these interventionists and everybody else.
So what's your spring target?
Ask them what their spring target is.
Oh, you're providing the numbers. What's a spring target for you two? You're on the spot now.
That's the first time I've seen those numbers. Like Cheryl said, you know, it's kind of gone from each classroom setting a goal. So I guess I haven't seen the full numbers there before, so I'll send you an email.
All right. Good answer.
Correct. Those are yellow and red.
Yep.
And that'll be before like May 15th, right? All right. Anything else for Cheryl? Thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
Any public comments related to non-agenda items? Hearing none. Linda, thank you for the typed District Technology Committee report.
Actually, Jason Holstein, he typed that up, so.
Well, whoever did it, your name's attached to it.
Right,
Thank you.
You
You got it toJan, that's what
tomorrow. How
matters.
can you do this?
And I'm assuming there was no other committee meetings because there's no reports.
Oh, gosh, there's lots of kind of committee review.
There was an LCTN, is that what it, Little
Yeah,
Grove?
LCTN.
One, but it was Wednesday night, and it was quite lengthy. They reviewed some things, so I can attach that with the next one.
Perfect. Moving on to acknowledgement of gifts and donations, a donation of 28 gift boxes from Bethel Lutheran Church for the Child Guide Program. I'm assuming that is like tokens for bus rides, things that they give away from when I was involved with Child Guide. Donation of $750 from the Willmar Takedown Club for a middle school wrestling coach. A donation of $80 from Ruth and Craig Aaron for the wrestling program. And a donation of $927.18 from the Willmar Takedown Club for hotel costs for the wrestling tournament in Cass Lake in December. Any other information? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.